I never imagined my dream home would come with a nightmare neighbor. Let's rewind a bit. I just closed the deal on a beautiful $950,000 house in a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood governed by a homeowners association. The place was everything I'd worked my entire adult life for. Large backyard, plenty of space for my dogs, and close enough to the city without feeling trapped in it. I was finally going to settle down and breathe. But what no one warned me about, what wasn't in the real estate listing or the welcome packet, was the terrifying force of nature that was Patricia Kellerman, known in hushed tones throughout the neighborhood as HOA Karen. Patricia was the president of the HOA, and not just any president. She ruled this community like she was a dictator in a gated kingdom. She had a clipboard with her everywhere she went, and binoculars she used with unsettling regularity. She was infamous for measuring lawns with a ruler, photographing unauthorized garden gnomes, and even scolding teenagers for leaving their bikes in driveways. I heard stories. I thought they were exaggerated. But oh no, reality would prove to be far more absurd. It all began the day I moved in. My brother and I rented a large moving truck and pulled up to the house early in the morning. Before I had even unlocked the front door, Patricia was already outside, storming toward us with that tight smile only HOA tyrants seemed to master. She had the classic Karen look, platinum blonde bob haircut, oversized sunglasses, a power walk that could split the pavement, and that unmistakable voice full of self-importance. "Excuse me, what is going on here?" she barked. I blinked. I'm moving in?" She scowled. "There was no notice submitted to the HOA board. Moves must be scheduled and approved. You are disrupting the peace of the neighborhood." I thought she was joking. I honestly thought it was a prank. "You're kidding, right?" "Absolutely not. This is private property governed by HOA guidelines and you are in violation. I will be reporting this. You need to cease activity immediately." I didn't even know what to say. I laughed, assuming she would walk away in embarrassment. She didn't. She stood her ground. When I politely told her I had no intention of stopping the move-in, she stormed off. 20 minutes later, while we were unloading my couch, the cops showed up. 2 officers approached, visibly confused. We received a call from a resident stating there was a suspicious moving truck and possible unauthorized occupation of a property. I was stunned. "I'm the owner. I closed on this house 2 weeks ago. I have the keys. I have the deed." To their credit, the cops were very understanding once they saw my paperwork. They quickly realized this was a ridiculous HOA stunt and left, but not before politely suggesting that I try to stay on good terms with the neighborhood leadership. As if that was possible. After the officers left, Patricia returned, smug and unbothered. "Consider this your first official warning," she said, turning on her heel and disappearing behind a wall of hedges. That was just the first of many encounters. Within the first week, I received 3 notices from the HOA, one for unsightly garbage bins that were out 10 minutes before the allowed time, one for unauthorized plant life because I had planted sunflowers in the backyard, and this one really cracked me up, for excessive dog barking, even though my dogs were barely audible and inside most of the time. It became clear Patricia had it out for me from the moment I arrived. And when I say had it out, I don't mean passive-aggressive neighborly tension. I mean full-blown harassment masked under HOA policy. The neighbors whispered apologies when we passed each other. One even handed me a bottle of wine with a sympathetic smile saying, "We all went through it. You'll learn how to deal with her." But I wasn't about to learn to deal with someone trying to control my life over some fake sense of authority. So I did what I do best. I researched. I started collecting HOA documents, state HOA statutes, and neighborhood bylaws. I learned what they could and couldn't enforce. I discovered Patricia had been president of the HOA for 9 years, even though the bylaws only allowed a maximum of 2 consecutive 2-year terms. Turns out no one else ever ran and she refused to hold proper elections. I also discovered she'd been fining residents illegally, pocketing administrative fees, and blocking any homeowners from attending HOA meetings unless she personally approved them. The more I uncovered, the more furious I became. So I devised a plan. It wouldn't just get her off my back, it would finally expose her to everyone she bullied. Step 1. Gather evidence. I started recording every interaction. I installed a video doorbell and security cameras around my property. Every absurd notice she sent went into a file. I even managed to record her shouting at my landscaper for using an unapproved brand of fertilizer. Step 2. Rally the neighbors. I printed flyers detailing the HOA bylaws and left them in mailboxes. I knocked on doors. I explained that Patricia had overstayed her term and was enforcing non-existent rules. Turns out nearly everyone hated her. They were just scared. We formed a coalition, neighbors of all ages and backgrounds ready to stand up. Step 3. Lawyer up. I found a real estate attorney who specialized in HOA law. Once he reviewed the bylaws and saw the evidence I'd gathered, he was confident. "She's a sitting duck," he said. "She's in clear violation of governance statutes and open to civil litigation." So we drafted a petition for her removal. We needed 51% of homeowner signatures. We got 70% in 3 days. When we presented the petition at the next HOA meeting, which she tried to cancel via email last minute, she nearly exploded. The meeting was packed. More than 30 homeowners showed up, many for the first time in years. And every one of them had a story to tell. There was Mrs. Nguyen, who got fined for having a Vietnamese flag in her window. There was the Parkers, whose kids weren't allowed to chalk draw on their own driveway. There was even a widowed veteran who got a violation notice for putting up a Memorial Day banner. Patricia tried to talk over everyone, claiming the meeting was out of order, but the attorney shut her down with legal precedent. We voted, and she was officially removed as president. But it didn't stop there. Turns out, she'd been mishandling HOA funds. A forensic accountant found $48,000 in missing expenses over 5 years, including lavish dinners, spa treatments, and payments to companies that didn't exist. A full audit was launched. The community sued. And then came the final blow. The city opened a case of zoning fraud tied to her consulting firm, which had been illegally skimming HOA contracts. She was arrested on multiple charges, including embezzlement and fraud. Her $1.2 million home, which she'd bought under her name but financed through dubious HOA income streams, was seized in the investigation. Today, Patricia Kellerman is banned from ever holding an HOA office in the state again. Her property was auctioned off to repay community losses. And ironically enough, I was elected the new HOA president, though I only took the role to help install a rotation system and ensure no one else could ever abuse that power again. And now, I live in peace. My dogs bark when they want, my garbage bins come out early, and my sunflowers grow tall and wild. Sometimes, on warm evenings, I sit on my porch with a glass of wine, watching the sunset behind the trees, and I can't help but smirk when I see people walking freely through the neighborhood laughing, playing music, being themselves, no longer living in fear of HOA Karen.